I procrastinated way too much while knitting the sleeves, so far I am quite pleased with how my stitches are looking and the stitch definition. As you can see, it is going to be big. Shrink my stash as much as humanly possible. I did actually cast on something this week, but I have no idea where I placed it because... Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lene and I'm knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting. I talk about my current projects, finished projects, planned projects. Sometimes I talk a little bit about yarn, just anything that pops into my head while we sit here and chat. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me this week. I have quite a bit to show you. I'm really excited. I feel like the ball has finally started rolling when it comes to getting some of these projects off my needles, which I am really happy about because I want to leave this year with as few projects on my needle as possible. But before we get into all of those projects, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. And today I'm wearing, I think this is the oldest sweater that I own that still fits. This is my Marius sweater with a round yoke. Here it is. This is, as I said, it's the round yoke and it's in non-traditional colors. It's the same version that I'm currently knitting for my son. So this is knit in drops alpaca. I made this quite a few years ago now as a school project, so I can't remember everything perfectly, but I think the grey of this, it's a much lighter grey than I've been using for my husband's and son's Marius sweaters. I think this is either light grey or pearl grey, a bit unsure. And then there is the off-white, and then here I have the turquoise, just a really light color. This was really light. I think if I were to do it again, I would have chosen a bit darker colors. I do prefer the color chart of my son and husband's untraditional Marius, but I do really like that we have matching Marius sweaters, but that there is a bit of a contrast, that mine is much lighter. So I'm still really happy with it, and I still do use this loads. Because it is a family match that we all have, or we haven't all had it for a while now, but we're about to all have it again, so I think I'll be using it even more in the next year. But it is a really lovely warm sweater because it is in alpaca. It's also super soft, so I very easily wear this next to skin. I've also had it for like 10 years, so it's been worn so much that it is really comfortable next to skin, so that's a huge plus with this sweater. It's also not that oversized, so it is quite comfortable to wear next to skin without being too oversized. I don't love wearing my super oversized sweaters next to skin, just because no, I don't know why, I just don't love that. And I also love how lightweight this is. You're supposed to knit it using yarn like Sandnes Garn Smart, like a DK weight yarn, which would have made this sweater a lot heavier and probably a little bit more oversized. But what I've chosen to do for all of these Marius sweaters is to knit them using dropped alpaca, and that is, I think each skein is like 167 meters, so it's a lot thinner than the Sandnes Garn Smart and other DK weight yarns, but I have been able to hit gauge, or at least kind of hit gauge, because the sweaters do fit, and I'm really happy because it's given me a lot softer, more lightweight and just easy to wear sweater. It's also great for layering, so this is a piece I really love and it works just really well in my wardrobe. I also tend to steal my husband's sweater a lot because, as I said, I do like the color combination of that a lot more. So when he's not wearing his, I do steal it a bit. So just all of these sweaters, I wear them a lot. I really enjoy them. The pattern is from Sandnes Garn, but I've always used the pattern that we have in a book that my grandma, I think both my grandma and my mom have a version of the book, but the book is very many years old, so I don't think it's in production anymore, but I am pretty sure you can still get the pattern from Sandnes Garn, but probably in not a full book, but a little pamphlet or something. But yeah, that is my Marius sweater. I love her so much. I do wish to make myself another one in better colors, but I think I'm just going to make myself the traditional one, and then that will have to be enough because I don't need that many Marius sweaters. And this has also held up pretty well. I do have some snag pieces of yarn just from wear over the years, and it does also peel a little bit, and I've never de-peeled this, but it's not too bad for something that has never been de-peeled over so many years. I do pull them off sometimes when they dangle, but I think this has held up pretty well for a sweater that is quite old and has been used so much. But yeah, then we can move into what I have been doing this week, and I think while we are already talking about the round yoke Marius sweaters, that I will just talk about the one I'm making right now. I had hoped that I would have gotten a lot further along on this because the deadline for this Marius sweater is tomorrow morning, which means that I have a lot of work ahead of me today, but I still think it's possible because I've gotten quite far on the yoke now. Don't know where we were when we last spoke. I don't think I'd done any of the color work yet, but this is where we're at now. Of course, this is like the worst time to show it because I have been able to gather it all on one needle, and I have done one decrease, so it is picking up the pace, but it's very cramped on the needle still. But I finished the yoke with this bottom part of the collar work here, and then I knit each sleeve, which I did progress on quite quickly, but I procrastinated way too much while knitting the sleeves, so that put me a bit behind schedule. I'd hoped to finish one sleeve on Wednesday and one sleeve on I think I'd planned on finishing one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday, and then doing the yoke yesterday, and I finished both of the sleeves yesterday instead, so not the best. I need to get better at not procrastinating while I'm on a deadline, but did finish both of the sleeves with also this top part of the collar work. I have also knit everything a couple of centimeters longer. I can't remember how much longer I made the body because I didn't quite measure, but I think when it measured the right length, I just kept knitting for a little while until it felt right. But for the sleeves, I did add 2 centimeters, which isn't a lot, but I hope it gets me a little bit more wear out of this. So I added 2 centimeters before I did the collar work. So hopefully we won't have to struggle with short sleeves quite as quickly as we would have otherwise. And then today I've just been working on the yoke, and the first few rounds of the yoke is always horrible when you're working bottom up. The stitches are awkward, and you have to, like, around the armhole here, it's horrible to knit, but it does get better very quickly, so it's already comfortable again to knit now that I've done, I think I've done about 10 rows maybe since joining. And yeah, it is really hard to show, but let me show on this that I'm wearing because it is the same. I've gotten to this point here now, so I'm just about to start on like the main motif. I've done the first decrease here, then I'm doing the main motif, and then another decrease here, and from then on it goes really quickly because all of this is also really simple to do and there are a lot of decreases here. So I just need to tough through this and then I'll be done in no time. Is at least my plan. So now I just need to work on this as much as possible. It's been really fun. It's a project I really enjoy making. Marius sweaters are just really fun to make. They are engaging, but the color work is really easy, and there is there isn't really any long float, so you can work on it really seamlessly and just really get through it quite quickly once you just sit down and do it. So that's been really lovely, even though it is a deadline. But even though it has been lovely, I am really excited to finish my last deadline. I still want to do a couple of calendar gifts, so that's kind of a deadline, but this is the last like really serious one and the last like bigger project deadline for this year. So super excited about getting that off the needles because we're getting a family match and I'm getting rid of all of the deadlines, so that's going to be wonderful. I'm really excited about that. Hopefully by the time this comes out, this podcast, this will be done, so you will be able to see the final result. This kind of has to be done by the time you see this podcast, so I'll show the final result so you can see that too, and not only see this work in progress that is a bit hard to show. But so far I am quite pleased with how my stitches are looking and the stitch definition. Of course, it always gets better with a steam block, and also some wear and tear also helps color work lay a bit better. But so far, really excited about this. I think it's going to be a great sweater. My son's also really excited. I had him try on one of the sleeves as I was working on them, and he did not want to take it off again. He was just like, no, you can just continue knitting around my arm. So that was a bit of a struggle actually, so to get it off again, but I'm going to take that as a good sign that he actually wants this. And he has been trying to steal my husband's sweater too, so I think this is going to be good. I'm really excited about that, and I really hope he'll want to wear it quite a bit. But yeah, that's that. That has obviously gotten most of my attention. But as I said, I have also been procrastinating. I'm very good at procrastinating, especially when a deadline is nearing up, but I still think I have enough time to finish. I will procrastinate enough so that I'll always have to stress my way to the end of a deadline. Don't know why, but it always happens. So, because I felt like I wasn't stressed enough about the Marius, I have knit quite a bit on this Korshavn blanket. I ran out of yarn in the middle of a row, so it's a bit hard to show off without losing stitches, but this is starting to get absolutely massive. I think this is about the size it's supposed to be, but I still am like 10 of these basket rows. I still have about 10 of them left. I still have about 10 of the basket weaves left. I think it's just turning out really huge because I'm using Drops Nepal to make this, and I think again that the suggested yarn is more of a DK weight, so this is just going to be massive, but that was what I wanted. I did choose the biggest size and knit with chunkier yarn, and I think that it will just be nice because it is bigger. I think there will also be a higher chance that this will grow with the baby. Sometimes I find a lot of baby blankets, they are great and you can kind of say that they grow with the baby a little bit more than like the newborn clothing, but I found that a lot of the baby blankets you grow out of rather quickly. So I wanted to make just a large one because I know for myself at least, if I'm under a blanket, I want to be bundled up under it, not have the blanket barely cover my feet. So that's why this is going to be massive. I also have yarn left and I don't know what I could use drops, like 3 skeins of Drops Nepal for. So I'm just going to knit on this until it reaches the right length, and then hopefully I won't be left with much of the Drops Nepal. But yeah, that is the Korshavn blanket. This is the length and half the width. As you can see, it is going to be big because this is about 3/4 of how long it's going to be in the end if I add all of these extra rows. But I think that will just be really lovely and be a really warm blanket. That means you can also like bundle the baby up a lot more. You could also fold it double, so it will just be really warm. It is also in Nepal, which is a wool and alpaca mix, and alpaca is really warm, so I think this will just be a really great blanket for winter. It does have a couple of holes because of the basket weave, but I don't think that should be an issue. So yeah, this is still just a project that I have for fun. I just really need a project that I can procrastinate all of my deadlines with. Sometimes a project that I don't need to finish anytime soon. I don't need to finish at all, really. I just can do this sometimes when I don't feel like working on any of the projects I should be working on, and that has definitely saved my sanity in the last month since I cast it on, so really thankful for this blanket for that. As I said, I'm knitting it in Drops Nepal, and I think this color is just called grey. It's not the light grey, because that is much lighter. The light grey is like this color. So this is either called, I think it's just called grey, because this is the like medium grey color. And that looks a bit darker, but it might be the medium grey. I can't really remember, but it is one of the grey shades. So I have been working quite a bit on that. I think I have done maybe a skein or two on that blanket, so it has grown quite a bit. And I think if I do the same amount of progress on it next week, I might be able to finish it. And then, of course, since I couldn't just procrastinate with one project, I have also turned to another project to procrastinate. And also, since we are nearing the end of the year and everyone's kind of cleaning their home for Christmas, my way of doing that is trying to get as much yarn as possible out of my house, as much scrap yarn, just shrink my stash as much as humanly possible. And knitting with chunky needles and using up Nepal definitely is a good way to do that. So after I was done procrastinating with the Korsvika, I jumped into procrastinating with my huge sitting mat, and I knit quite a bit on this. When I started knitting on this again, I did this last week, I think, and then I did from this little pink stripe here and all the way to the red this week, and then I had planned out more colors I was going to do after that, because I do still have quite a bit of Nepal scraps after the slippers, but I rolled it out over my lap, and it was just so very long. I think it was almost 3 meters when I rolled it out, and I was like, no, I have to stop, because if this gets any longer, it will lose all function again. I think this is a really great blanket. I think we'll use it a lot as a sitting mat, as a mat when we go in the hammock, just anything. It is a bit skinny maybe for an adult in a hammock, but I think having some wool underneath will help, even if it is a bit skinny. So, but I didn't want it to get any longer, because there's only so much something will felt. So I decided to stop, and then since this is so skinny, I thought I could just do another one like this, so that if I want to use them to lay on, I could just have them overlapping by a couple of centimeters, so that it gets a bit wider. So I think that's the plan now, that I'm going to cast on another one of these absolute this monster of a sitting mat, but this has been really great. We've already used it just right outside our house on the benches that we have there, because they are cold, because they're covered in snow. And the great thing about this was that it was actually the exact length of that bench, and even now I have felted it. I chucked it in the washing machine and hoped for the best. Also, it isn't a crisis if this felted a bit weird. Like, it would have been a crisis with the slippers, but it's not that serious. This is just a crazy project. And it did felt a bit crazy. The sides definitely felted a lot more than the middle, because I think these moved around a lot more, but the middle is kind of weighed down by both sides. But I don't think that's a huge issue, because most of the time when it's just us three using this, which will be most of the time, we can just wrap it double and we'll still all comfortably fit on this. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think this was a great project. Even now it's wrapped in 4 and it's still bigger than the traditional like the pattern for the sitting mat, so I got a lot out of this. It was a really easy way to get rid of scrap yarn, and there is a lot of different yarn in here. There is some drops alpaca, there is some Rauma Vams, there is a lot of drops Nepal, there is some Sandnes Garn alpaca ull, I think. Just anything vaguely in this gauge got put into here. Some of the Nepal scraps were quite large because I don't knit that much with chunky yarn, so if there is like a skein left, what am I going to do with it? But a lot of the other yarn scraps were like just a couple of grams and did get me a really huge sitting mat, and this is going to be so functional. I already love it for what it does, and it is also a lot easier to pack with you just one of these huge sitting mats instead of trying to remember a ton of the smaller ones. And now we can also invite people with us without them having to remember to bring their own, because you can fit so many people on this. And since it is wool, it's also quite easy to like lay this outside so it creates like half a circle, whereas with the ones you buy that are long like this, they are much stiffer, so they'll just go straight across. So I'm really happy about this. I think we're going to use it a lot, just a lot already this month with everything we're going to do outside. So I'm really happy about this, and I'm really happy to have it finished and off my needles, even though I might start with another one really soon again to get more scraps out of my stash. This has been on my needles since October last year, so I was just tired of seeing this project from October every year, every time I open Knit and Out. So I'm going to give my needles a little bit of a break. I might need to use those needles for something else too, but I am pretty sure that I'm going to cast on a project very similar to this. I am still trying to decide if I want to do it the same and just use try to match the length and the width, or if I want to try to make it a little bit wider so it will be better to sleep on. I have yet to decide on that, but I do still have quite a few Nepal scraps, probably not enough to make this length again, but having this project on the side to just get rid of my scraps as soon as I got them was a really good idea, instead of my scraps just disappearing into here, because all of my DK and fingering weight scraps just disappear into here and then I just forget about them, which is not the best, and then I never dig them up again to find out what to do about them. But yeah, that is my huge sitting mat finally felted. As you can see, it didn't felt a lot. This is like the middle section, and you can see the garter stitch quite clearly here, especially on the lighter colors, whereas this is one of the ends, and you can see it felted a lot more, especially on this red here. I think you can see that it is quite felted, but you can still see the garter stitch. So I'm really happy with the amount this felted, and that it shrunk more in the length than it did in the width, which I'm also happy about, since it was already quite skinny in the width. But yeah, that is the sitting mat. So I got one project off my needles, which I'm really happy about, even though I was supposed to just focus on the Marius this week. It was really nice to be able to focus on different things, and I think I am really craving that after my sleeper marathon, to just be able to procrastinate a little more and work on a few different projects all at once and just work a little bit here and there on all of these different things. And now that the Marius is so close to being done, it needs to be done today. The Korshavn blanket is also really close to be done, to be honest. So all of the projects that have been like my main projects the last month are about to be done. So I'm feeling really free, like I can do anything. I still have a ton of whips, so I'll have to go through those first probably before I can cast on something new. But I think I'll finally pick up the Marius again because I really want to finish that as a Christmas gift, the original Marius. I think I'll actually cast on the Siri cardigan today, which I am really excited about. It's been a month since I tried to cast this on the first time, but now we are almost into Advent and my biggest wish is to work on this during Advent, so that needs to happen. And then at the bottom here I do have my Christmas sweater, and I actually think that I'm going to dig that up this week and start working on it so that I'll finish it, because if I don't finish it this December, I don't think I ever will. And it is a sweater I'm really happy with. I am designing it myself and it is turning out exactly how I wanted. I just stopped working on it because it wasn't Christmas anymore. So I hope I'll dig that up again and get that finished, because I don't just have 1.5 sleeves and a bit of the body left. And then I want to embroider gold stars, but also really hope that I'm going to dig that up this week and just start working on it. And then of course the advent calendar, I need to figure out what I'm going to start making for that, because I still haven't started. But those are the projects I worked on this week. I've been quite single-minded with my projects lately, so I'm excited to finish the projects I need to be single-minded for, and then just knit a little bit on everything again. Hopefully I won't go crazy with casting on, because I do really want to finish everything I'm working on by the end of the year. And that reminds me, I did actually cast on something this year, but I did actually cast on something this week, but I have no idea where I placed it, because I just cast it on to be kind of rebellious against myself and my rules, I think. So I think I worked 3 rows on it and then I've put it to the side, because the non-rebellious part of me knows that I don't have time for it right now, and it is a project I don't want to rush through. But I'll show you the yarn and tell you the pattern, because it's really nothing to show the thing I've cast on and I don't know where it is. But I got this yarn from my friend. I think she has got it from a friend too, so this has been through multiple stashes now where people just have not known what to do with it. But I got this alpaca silk. It is, I think it's my favorite yarn. I never get to get this myself because it's so expensive, but it is such a luxurious yarn because it's alpaca, which is really soft, and then it's also 30% silk, so it's just so soft and kind of like glowing. Love this. So I got 4 skeins, and the deal was like, I get the skeins, I get to knit with them, and then I'm going to knit something for her daughter. So I found a dress pattern. I know that she has really loved the Synne onesie that I made for her daughter when she was born. So I found the dress version of that, the Synne dress, and with 4 of these skeins, I think I can make size 3 years, which is a lot to make a dress in size 3 years, but it also means that I'm going to be able to work with this yarn for quite a bit of time, and I am a huge fan of stockinette. So there is that little frill here, which is what I've started on. I think I had to cast on almost 300 stitches, which is why I only did 3 rows. But that little frill is the only thing where you really have to focus, and then the rest is just stockinette with decreases and increases. So I think I'm going to have a really fun time because I love stockinette, and stockinette just gets more fun when you're doing increases and decreases because you can actually see your progress. So I'm really excited. It's this color. I don't know what you would call this color. It's kind of a dusty pink. It's color 3041. So I've started just a little bit. I've done this much on it, so really nothing to show, but I'm really excited for it. I don't think it will be done this year. I have gone through my project and looked through what I think I can finish this year and what I cannot. And I think I have 3 projects that just no way I'm going to be able to finish this year. But I think I have 11 projects on my needles right now that are active. So if I get that number down to 3, I'll be really happy. But yeah, I thought if I start now, one, it was just me wanting to be a little bit rebellious. I also just wanted something on small needles. And I think if I start now and make at least some progress, that I'll be able to finish it for her birthday. And it will be her first birthday, and this will be in size 3 years. But then she can grow into it, I think. And she'll maybe not be able to use it the first year, but she can get it. I'll probably gift it with something else that she can wear right then or use right then. But I think this would make for a great gift, and I'm also excited both to knit with it, but also to get yarn out of my stash. I'm on a really huge high to like just get as much yarn as possible out of my stash. I have a lot of different goals of how much yarn I can get out of my stash by the new year. I am happy with my stash. I love all of the yarn in my stash, but the reason I love the yarn is because I want to work with it. So I really hope I can get to as much yarn as possible before the new year. But yeah, that is everything I cast on and worked on and cast off this week. Hopefully I will have been able to do even more of a different projects next week. I'm really excited to work on lots of different projects, a little bit of a dress, a little bit of a sweater for myself, a little bit of everything. So hopefully that is what I'll be able to say next week, but that's everything I had for today. Now I really need to get back to working on this module, so it will be done by tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!